This is a video for Laurence Beaver. I'm just going to talk a little bit about Louise with you. So, California, long way away. Louise is 15 and she's living in an off-the-grid town, which is, it gives her a little bit of a quirk already, which is interesting because not a lot of people, especially in this day and age, do live off the grid. So, she meets up with William. Lovely. But I can't help wanting to know more because we find out about William's family, but we never find out about Louise's family. We just find out that they're deranged. But I mean, what does that mean? Are they, mentally ill? Are they addicts? Are they just a little bit too into, say, a religion that she's not into? I mean, because it sets you off. If I were an actor looking at this role, I'd definitely consider it because she's got an amazing kind of arc. But the first thing I would ask you would be, okay, so Louise is 15, and what's her life been up until now? Like, what made her leave home? What made her decide that kind of living on her own or with this guy eventually in this trailer is the way forward? What made her think that is better than her family life? So, yeah, that's what I want to know. I want to know kind of, is she an orphan? What are her brothers and sisters? Did she ever go to school? Sort of, what opportunities did she have? Because I feel like until you know that, which you might already know, but until you know that about Louise, I don't think you can fully get to grips with the depth of the character and her reasons for doing things. So, I totally understand her deciding to keep the cash and the crystal meth because she's never had anything. That's, I mean, for me, that's a very, very normal and human thing to do, and I can't really imagine her doing anything else. But, if I'm honest, I'm a little bit lost on the goldfish. I can see it's a metaphor. But I feel like we need to know more about Louise's relationship. It sounds daft, but her relationship with the goldfish, Is it a joint pet? Does William always love it a bit more? Does it represent William? Is William even real? I assume he is from what I've read, but yeah. So, I mean, how does she feel about the goldfish all the way along? Because obviously trying to release it, like, what is she trying to do by kind of not wanting to release the goldfish and then saving it at the end? Like, what does that symbolise to her? What does it mean? Then I suppose I'll skip forward a little bit as you do in the story. She's drug laden. I'm a bit stuck here because that could mean so many things. I'm assuming it's meth because that's the only drug we've really talked about so far. But is it meth? Is it something else? Like, how did she get hold of it? Like, why did she start doing drugs? I mean, is this something she started doing because she can't handle the guilt after, obviously, the unfortunate incident with the guns? Or is it just habit? Is it something which she started to be popular? Because there are so many reasons that somebody could become a drug addict over the period of 8 years, especially if they're living in a trailer on their own and they're a vulnerable kind of young person. But you still need to know that because the thing is with addiction is it starts because you've got a hole in yourself which you need to fill. So what is that hole that she's trying to kind of plug, so to speak? And, when as well? Like, when did she start the drugs? Has she been doing drugs for 8 years and it's only just caught up with her? Or has she been on it for 6 months and it's just horrific already? Because, I mean, either of these is a possibility, but it's something which the actress will have to know. And I think you'd have to know as the writer as well, because it's very different. Someone who's been on drugs for 6 months going off the rails, they kind of know they're going off the rails. Whereas someone who's been on drugs for 6 years, the decline in your kind of quality of life. It can be so slow that you don't even notice it happening. And, you know, well, they're both sad in their own ways, but that's something which you have to be very, very sure of. Also, I'm a little confused because I don't understand why Louise has a trailer and decides to sleep on the street. I mean, is she sleeping on the street out of choice? Is she sleeping on the street because the drug guys are back at the caravan? Is she sleeping on the street because she lost the caravan or she's too sick to get back to it? Is it a regular thing? Is it something she does to punish herself, or is she just happens to pass out on the street that one night? Because again, it's a very important thing for the character. You have to know what decisions the character made which led them to suddenly be on the streets when they've got a perfectly good home. Yeah. Finally, I suppose I'm a little unclear because Louise goes back to the trailer, which is fine, but I don't quite understand why she wasn't there first place. So I'm sure you know this, but I don't, because this is all the information I've got. But Louise goes back to the trailer, and obviously you would feel guilty if you killed somebody's son, but you said earlier that William's relationship with his parents wasn't particularly good anyway, so I suppose it's another thing, like you need to know about Louise's parents and what her upbringing is, you need to know a lot about William's as well. I mean, is Louise feeling guilty because she pulled William away from his family and then he was killed because of her? Or is she feeling guilty because it's just a secret which he thinks they should know? Or is something said which triggers the guilt? It's quite unclear, but I mean, like I said, it's really imaginative. It's a very different story, and I think if you really get in the kind of nitty gritty of Louise's character and kind of what has made her the way she is, and how long does she go through things, and why does she make decisions? Because you don't even have to put it in the script. Nobody puts it in the script, but as a writer, you've got to know. So if anyone comes up to you and goes, so why does she do this? You can say, well, she did this because her family did this to her ages and ages ago. And that way, you always know that your character's making a realistic decision, and it basically means that actors like me can't just come along and mess it all up, because it's really easy for us if we know exactly where everything came from. So, thank you. It's been lovely to read this, and I hope that was a little bit of help.